name is Derrick Hodge, and it's an honor to be here doing this interview with Bass Frontiers. And my life is kind of an interesting one because there was no big gimmick with me. I'm a product of the environment. From the beginning, I grew up in a hotbed of talent from Willingboro, New Jersey. The greater Philadelphia area, and I got involved in music in school, and it was one of those small suburban towns where there was a lot of people that had a lot of creative energy, and the only thing to do was either sports or music. So that's how I got involved, and I was inspired by the bass player from my mother's church in Philadelphia, who happened to play at the same church with Patti LaBelle and all these other people, legendary. And he ended up inspiring not just myself, other legendary bassists from the Philadelphia area. They were all, a lot of people were influenced by this person, Joel Ruffin. So that gave me the desire to actually pick up the bass. So in New Jersey, that's what I did, man, at a young age. And I was never actually in the band until high school. I always had a fascination, even at the age of 7, for string playing. So I said, how can I get in an orchestra? And they let me in. So I played electric bass in the orchestra all through elementary school, junior high school, all the way up into high school. And my best friend, who's a bass player and a big influence on me, Thaddeus Trebet, he really helped balance out that creative point in my life as a young kid, because I was heavily inspired by gospel music, and he and his brother, they were really entrenched in that scene, and that's how I became kind of involved in that and learned at a young age just the way different people kind of perceive music, how they understand music, how they see it. Because working on a Bach piece, and then going out and just, they saying, put me in B flat, and just hearing all my peers doing it in a great way, it was just invaluable, and that kind of stuck with me to this day. So up until high school, I was in the orchestra. And then I got involved in the jazz band, and my school had a really good jazz band. We went all around the country, playing at the Berkeley Music Festival, which we won, fortunately. And through that, my college professor recommended me going into music school, and that's what I did. And based off of his recommendation, I went to Temple University, and that's when a lot of things changed for me, because I got in for electric bass. And because of the scholarship requirements, I had to be, in the big band. And when the gentleman graduated before me, I had to really begin taking the upright bass seriously, because I had learned it pretty much on my own, But then going through that program, man, and being a part of music in Philadelphia with this Curtis Institute there, Philadelphia Orchestra, Temple University's group, there were so many great classically trained musicians that helped me really attain another understanding of the instrument. And it wasn't until college and things like IAJE and all these conferences that people always talk about and say, oh, that's not where things are going. Well, for me, I was a product of that, because that was my only way of being exposed to jazz, and other styles of music like that for the most part. So I always find that valuable, and that is what kind of made another option for me available. I said, oh wait, I can do this. I don't have to just be on the road just trying to do tour to tour, or trying to sound like Marcus Miller or whoever was popular at the time, or be the next Jocko in order to make it. There are other options, So when I came to my senior year, I was playing with a lot of R&B groups at the time, Jill Scott and Music Soul Child, and that style of music that was going on in the city of Philadelphia. And I made a decision to go back to school. And that's what changed many things for me, man, because it wasn't until that last year of school where I met Christian McBride, met a few of my favorite composers and people that just blew my mind from a compositional aspect, and that opened up another avenue that I can honestly say I don't think I would have even attempted to pursue, had I not stayed in school and made that decision to go back to school just for those extra 8 months. That created a new path for me. So coming out of school, I started working with Mulgrew Miller and Bootsy Barnes, and I was voicing to a lot of people based off of my experience in my senior year that I wanted to start linking with composers and pursue that. So I went to the Philadelphia Library and was studying orchestrations while doing a lot of performances on bass, and by word of mouth, Terrence Blanchard found out, that I was really interested in working with him, and I ended up filling in for him a couple of times, and then got the position working with him. And through him, that opened up a lot of opportunities because I was mainly doing things as a bassist, solo influence and bass things. But working with him, he really created the opportunity to work out compositions. It was through him that I really got a chance to link with Marcus and Stanley Clarke and get to talk with them on another level about what they're doing with their compositional careers and how they found a way to make it all work for them. And through that, man, that's how I ended up pretty much, where I am now. I'm a product of asking a lot of questions, being in the right place, not necessarily prepared at the time, but being willing to say, yes, I can do it, or yes, I'll be willing to learn. And, that's what happened, man. I'm in LA now, I'm pursuing film scoring full time, and I'm still trying to work out that balance. I have my album coming out, Live Today, in April of 2011, which I'm really excited about, man. I have a lot of my peers on there that I love, that I've had a chance to work with. And my whole idea behind the record was to kind of just do what I was telling you about. Don't be ashamed to tell your story as you see it. I don't have that thing. A lot of people might want to say, oh yeah, well, I practiced 10 hours a day trying to, do a record that sounded like the next Continuum or, something like that. But I never had that pressure, so on this record, I just did what felt most comfortable to me. I wrote all the music within a 2-week to a 1 month period leading up to the recording. Did some orchestrations. I had a few friends of mine on there, Robert Glasper, Chris Dave, Marcus Strickland, Keon Harrell, singer and songwriter and bassist by the name of Alan Hampton. Amazing bassist on there and great singer. Got to work with Common on there, Aaron Parks, Travis Sale, some of those guys that I've worked with Maxwell with, so it was great, man. Just getting a chance to do it. I'm excited to put it out there and see what happens.